Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Habits You Love. Today I have on a lovely guest, Kim Shapira. She is a celebrity dietitian, a nutritional therapist, and an author with over 25 years of experience with helping people become their best selves physically, emotionally, spiritually, and medically. She believes health is the goal, but people being triggered by life storms knock them off their journey. So true. Welcome, Kim. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so
Yeah,
happy and excited to have this conversation with you.
me too. I feel like we could probably talk for hours, but we're going to try to nail it down to just the most important, good, juicy stuff. So, 25 years of experience, that's a very long time. Why and how did you decide to get into this field?
That's a very good question. Why I think starts with the how. So I was a sick kid and I just wanted to be healthy. And somebody along the way told me that food could make you sick or healthy. And I didn't quite understand what that meant. I do now. So that was kind of how, right? I wanted to be healthy and I thought, I want to help people also be healthy. So I can do that by teaching them what foods are healthy, is what I thought. And then very early in my practice, I started recognizing people know what foods to eat, but they're not eating them. And so wanted to be successful. And what that means to me is that I was able to teach people how to keep weight off. As a registered dietitian, my goal for each person is to have a very healthy blood test without any disease and for people to feel as good as that blood test looks. And so making everything match. So I got into it to make people healthy. I learned very early on that I'm not responsible and I had some work to do there, and that I just needed to find a way inside people's minds to open like the floodgates.
Definitely. One of the things you said was people know what to eat. And I think, in a general sense, I think people know, okay, this is probably bad and I probably should be eating healthier, but I don't, but sometimes I really don't think people actually know what
Yeah.
foods work for their body and what foods are hindering their body. Because what I would like to
Yeah.
say with my clients in the past is there's so many foods that are the illusion of health,
Yeah.
and all of these companies know exactly what to say to get to the general public who are uneducated about what foods will actually progress you forward and maybe prevent a lot of disease or harm to the body. So, like you said, I think the mass population doesn't exactly know what to eat for their body, how much, and they just need to be a little bit more educated on that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, what I want to do is take like a giant red marker and circle the word there in that whole statement, right? Like, as a whole, we do know what foods have more nutrition and what foods don't have nutrition. And people, I think, get really caught up, as you're calling it an illusion. I also call it a seduction. Or maybe they heard their friend ate that and they felt great. And then they're having diarrhea and they can't understand what's going on. And I think the key to the whole thing is actually getting inside of your own body and treating your own body like it's your best friend,
Yeah, and I
you
don't
know?
think you can really do that unless you actually try. I think one of the big things I see people doing as well is like they want to learn and educate themselves before they actually put in the work or the effort or in applying the information. And so it's like,
Yeah.
or if you were learning at the same time as you were applying, then you would actually see the
Yeah.
results faster and you would know faster what is working. As opposed to, I'm going
Yeah.
to read 5 books, I'm going to learn everything on the internet, and then I'm going to put together a plan for what they say is best. But what if that
Yeah.
doesn't work for you? So my advice always is to just start taking action immediately. And that way you can even do process of elimination. Like if something's not working for you, you know immediately that probably should cut it out or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think what stops people is this idea that it's work, and work means hard. And we like immediately shut down at the idea that we have to learn something new or that it's going to be hard or even work. And, we operate just in the same way that we did everything yesterday. And so we really do need to be alert, intentional, And so reading the books is great, but you have to be so intentional in every moment to make it applicable to the moment and to your own personal journey.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings me to kind of my next question is when it comes to eating, it's more than just the physical act of eating. Like I'm going to go to the fridge or the pantry, I'm going to put something in my mouth, I'm going to be satisfied. There's actually many, many layers and things underneath going to eat. There's a lot of people's beliefs, their emotions, their feelings. What is the first thing people should actually look at when they do want to change their eating habits? Is it simply just swapping food, this for that? Or should they start to actually notice a pattern maybe much deeper down?
Yeah, I'm shaking my head. No, it's not this or that. I mean, how many times have you heard, excuse me, how many times have you heard somebody say, um, I'm not going to have ice cream after dinner. I'm just going to have an apple. And that's like actually part of the bigger problem. The reality is that we need to know where our mind is and what we're thinking and feeling. So if our mind is on the ice cream or the apple, we're not actually in our physical body knowing how hungry we are or what we're feeling. So before we can do anything, we need to find our mind. We need to know where it is and what it's thinking of so we can put it back inside of our body. And then our body can tell us exactly what we need. So, like one of the little things that I like to try is let's try it with you. So, if I
Yes.
say to you, what's the first thing you do when you have the thought you have to pee? What do you do?
I go pee.
Well, we would think that we do that, but what we actually do is we find why we had that thought. And then we
Hmm.
scan our bladder and then we assess how bad do I have to go? Can I finish this podcast or do I have to go right now? Right. So essentially, that thought I have to pee is an alarm that then brings you back to this moment, helps you figure out what your game plan is. And once you figured it out, you basically are alerting your mind and body, I'm safe. I have a plan, carry on. And
Ooh.
we need to always know we're safe in all things we're doing. I mean, it's basic survival, and we're here to survive. And our mind wants to do it in the most pleasurable way. So, with that regard, every single time you have a thought about food, whether it's a good idea or I want to have some of that, excuse me, is excuse me,
You're good.
is to think, why am I having a thought about food? And to recognize it must mean I'm not okay. And I think this scares people. Like, what does that mean I'm not okay? And the
Mm.
reality is, it's an alarm. Check in with your body. Is it because you're stressed, tired, bored, you just saw a commercial, or you're hungry? All of those things are going to help you kind of figure out what your body needs, but it's going to bring your mind from over here back to your body.
That's very interesting. I love that little tip. I'm going to start thinking of that because what's funny is that I could be home all day, but I'll think of food all day long. I'm like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I want to go eat, I want to go to the pantry, I want to go to the kitchen. But if I'm out and about all day and I'm busy, I don't think about food.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very interesting. I mean, it definitely feelings and emotions have a lot to do with thinking about food, with wanting to eat. It's very could be very mindless. It could
Yeah.
be just you're eating, but you don't know why, and you're really not even getting satisfied because you're not even present when you're eating. I think that's
Right.
a big thing people do as well is they'll be eating, but they'll be on their phones, or they'll be watching
Right.
TV, or they'll be standing
Right.
up, or they'll be doing laundry. And it's like we
Right.
actually need to sit down in the present moment and actually be thinking about how we're eating as we're eating and what we're eating and what it tastes like, and then
Yeah.
all the way down to our bellies.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what you said earlier, we need to smell our food, we need to chew our food. We're fueling our body. And like
Yes.
then it goes back to like your body as your best friend. Like why would you disregard the feelings that you have in your body when our body is what we have for the rest of our
Right.
lives.
Yeah, that quote that's like, don't eat for the body you hate, like eat for the body you love, or something like
Love it.
that. Yeah. So
I
like don't
love
eat
it.
because you hate your body, eat it because you love it. And yeah, that goes back to something you said. It was that you said, I'd like to say I work to rewire the mind so people can be free of worrying about our bodies, our health, our weight, our
Yeah.
diets. What do you mean by that when you say you work to rewire people's minds?
Yeah. So, kind of like what we're talking about with having to pee versus having the thought to eat, really, our minds are like, if we think about it, we're not responsible for telling our hearts to beat, our stomachs to digest, our lungs to breathe. We're also not responsible for our mind to produce about 60,000 thoughts that it has every single day based on what you're seeing, smelling, feeling, touching, hearing. Your mind is constantly surveying the premises to make sure that you're safe, and it wants you to survive every single moment in the most pleasurable way. So, a lot of the work that I do with my clients is helping them find their mind and bringing it back to their body, because I like to separate each of my clients from their emotional self and their physical bodies and get them into their physical bodies. We have emotions that come every 15 minutes. They're going to change. Moods last longer, but I can't I it's interesting. We didn't talk about this, but part of like my how and why is that I was sick as a kid. And so I was always going to the hospital. My mom said to me after every doctor visit, which was every Wednesday for 5 years, starting when I was 12, she said to me, don't cry, we'll go shopping. And so I did develop like a super fierce shopping addiction, which was something I did not recognize until I started seeing, oh my God, my clients are like literally eating the same way that I'm shopping. Right. And so so progress looks different for everybody. And working on understanding why your mind is telling you, you need to go buy that or you need to eat that, and truly understanding, is this survival? Like, is my mind not feeling safe right now? And how to figure out how to get around that, right? Because we are safe. And the reminder that we are safe, we're safe, you know?
Yes. We can definitely make ourselves safe. And that reminds me of just a conversation I was having with a friend last week. She struggled a little bit with eating disorders and all that. She was a professional dancer, and she came to the realization just kind of recently, which was amazing because she's in her 40s and she's dealt with this for a very long time. But she, kind of like you, she traced it back to her mom, and her mom wasn't very emotionally present, wasn't really present in her life at all. But when she was present, or when she would show love, is when she was like, do you want to go get a cinnamon roll? And so my friend was like, oh my gosh, my mom is saying, basically in her mind, she was like, this is how she loves me, is we go get food.
Yeah.
So her idea of love was eating. And so that is an emotion we all strive to feel. And when you want to feel it all day long, you're going to probably be eating all day long.
Yeah. And, one thing that's like super controversial, I would imagine, is the fact that like my mom, we all have limitations, right? And my mom, it was 1986 when this went down, and she said the one thing that she knew was going to put me in a good mood. It was I was totally open and available to accept that and use that and keep using that, right? Because I didn't have the right emotional intelligence, we could say, at that time. I mean, I was 12 and it was traumatizing and I was vulnerable and wanted to hide from the entire world. And I did hide. I would be in doctor appointments, staring at the wall, picturing what I was going to buy after, right? But I have so much gratitude now because I couldn't be where I am. I couldn't be helping people the way that I am helping them if I didn't have these experiences. And so I think it's really important to wherever you are in your life, and for whatever reason, whatever you're dealing with, to really try and infuse some gratitude, because they are the stories that make us and they helped us survive.
Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes is, every decision we make will either lead to an experience or a lesson, and we need them both.
Love
so we
it.
need experiences and we need lessons, and there's no getting around those.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think I've kind of told you my story. I was an athlete growing up. I played a many sports. I loved going to the gym. When I was 13, I would make my parents drop me off at the gym, be like, come back in an hour, and I would be at the gym. And that, transpired into college. I, in some form or fashion, was always doing something, working out. And then after college, a couple years till I was 24, I worked out very hardcore. I did a fitness competition in 2014. And I was just very, very on point. Like, I was very structured. I was very disciplined. But then I went through a lot of trauma in my mid-20s. A lot of major life events happened that were very traumatic. And after I couldn't really run away from those anymore, the trauma caught up to me. And then that's whenever I was really at my lowest physically because I was at my lowest emotionally. And what I didn't do is I didn't expect the gym to fix my emotions. I didn't expect food to fix my emotions or my mood. I worked on my emotional wellness and my mental wellness first. And then the desire and the motivation and the discipline with the physical came back, and hand in hand with that. So it definitely, like, even for me, I was like, why can I not keep on track? I know this intellectually. So just because people might know something doesn't mean they can always apply it very easily. So that made me think of everyone that I had helped, everyone that I was going to help. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they don't even have the information that I have in my head. Like, no wonder they can't stick to the gym and they don't feel confident and they can't eat right. So that was just a really big eye opener for me. And that's when I really started to work with clients more on like, okay, what's the deeper rooted issue here? Let's trace it back
Yeah.
to why you're making these decisions, or you don't feel you're worthy of being in the best shape possible. One of my clients, she had a sister and she was like, well, my sister is always the pretty one. She's always the one that's doing better than me. And she was constantly comparing her to her sister. And so it's almost like she was self-sabotaging because she didn't want to outshine her sister because she was the one that was,
Yeah.
the best at everything. So I had to
Right.
work through that, and then she
Yeah.
started to realize, okay, so we both can have that in our lives. And she wanted it so bad. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit
Yeah,
of
I mean, we
backstory.
talked earlier about like why, what foods to eat, and the quote you gave about love. And like one of my favorite quotes is, "We accept the love we think we deserve," and that's from Perks of Being a Wallflower. And the truth is like people could hear that quote, "We accept the love we think we deserve," and think about a relationship, but they're not internalizing it to the one that they have with themselves. And so it's always coming back to, am I trying to please someone else? Am I doing this for somebody else? And then how quickly can I get on board with doing it for me, loving myself?
Yes, absolutely. That's the number one relationship you should be working on before even if you have a partner or you are married or your friends, like you come
Yeah.
first. If
Yeah.
you put yourself first, everything else and everyone else will benefit from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And people, could say I don't have willpower, and honestly, the more inflammation a person has, the less motivation. So depending on the types of food you are eating that are impacting you, it's going to lower your motivation anyway. So it's, again, like I love the idea, and this is something you talk about, are habits, right? And creating routine and consistency and to do it anyway. I love the idea from Karate Kid of like Mr. Miyagiing. Like, we don't have to know why we're waxing on and waxing off. We just have to kind of be doing it, and then it will present itself.
Exactly. And don't expect instant results.
Yeah,
Because I think people are
exactly.
like, well, okay, so tomorrow I'm going to do a complete 180 change of my life. And I'm
Yeah,
going to eat completely different than I have in the last 20 years. And I'm going to go to the gym every single day. And they
right.
put so much expectation and pressure on themselves that no wonder they don't hit the bar because it's way too high. So
Totally.
setting very low bars and then raising the bar whenever you hit the low bars is really
Yeah.
how you build habits. And even just if you don't have a pair of tennis shoes, just buying a pair of shoes. That's step one. Okay, that's it. That's all
Yeah.
you're gonna do for the week. And then, okay, putting on the shoes and going outside for a walk. Instead
Yeah.
of being like, I'm gonna buy whole new outfits and I'm gonna buy all new shoes and I'm gonna go to the gym every day. You're setting yourself up
Oh
for
my God, I love
failure.
that. Just buy the
Just
shoes.
buy the
Just buy
shoes. What
That's funny.
are when you start to work with clients, and I know you have a ton of clients, do you primarily work with women or is it a little bit of both?
It's all
Yeah.
ages and it's everything.
All right, yeah, and everyone
Yeah.
obviously is going to be totally different than the next. But what is one common 1 to 2 things that you see people doing quote unquote wrong when it comes to food or hitting their goals?
Uh, they have the wrong idea of the word diet and deprivation. And so it's really kind of flipping the switch from, they think of diet as a restriction, when it's really a lifestyle.
Mm.
And they think of deprivation as a food or food group when it's really your healthiest self. And so getting in your own way of depriving yourself of what you are really after is the mindset that I kind of reverse people into.
Yes.
And I would say that that is very common in every single person.
Yeah, it's like you sell them
Yeah.
on what they want, but then you give them what they need. You're like, okay, you're coming to me because you want to lose weight, and then when they're locked in, you're like, okay, this is what we're really going to work on.
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny because, it is true they are coming to lose weight, but they're not. And I
Yeah,
tell them this over and over.
exactly,
I
exactly. They
tell
don't
them
know
they're
that
coming to
though.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tell them they're coming to learn how to maintain their weight loss, and that is a side effect of normal eating.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
The
because
side
it's the
effect
truth.
of normal eating is weight loss. Yay.
And weight maintenance. That's our goal,
Yes,
to never
yes.
go through this again.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I love that. So you have a new book coming out. Is this your first book?
This is my first book.
Oh my gosh, so exciting. And the title could not be more perfect. Um, I'll let you explain it, what the title is,
Okay.
and then what can people expect to learn when reading it.
Okay. So the title is called This Is What You're Really Hungry For.
Love it.
And, most people are going to say ice cream, cake, and it's really peace around food and your health. And I'm hoping that there are many nuggets that people can create into habits that then will help them into a more well-being lifestyle. Can I say that? Is that proper? I don't think that
Yeah,
was, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the idea is that there's many things that a person needs to be connected to. First, themselves in order to be well, and then move through these things that are important, like adventure, relationships, career, finances, food, sleep, all these things that we have to be connected to in order to be well. If one of the things is not really working, like you're not sleeping or you're in a fight with a friend, it's going to be on your mind over and over and over, and it's going to stop your progress. And so, what I'm hoping this book is going to teach you is how to have these 6 simple rules become a set of values, that you are now the kind of person who can go anywhere in the world at any time and check in with your body and make sure that you are taking care of your own needs before you do anything else.
I love that. It goes back to self love,
It's
taking
all
care
about
of
self
yourself
love.
first. Yes. So, how important do you think is it for people to start with their physical? Like, I kind of preach this whole you can control 90% of your physical self, about, like I've said this many times. You can't really control your geographical location, or maybe you're disabled. You can't control everything, but about 90% you can control. You decide what you're going to put in your mouth. You decide if you're going to move your body that day. And so I think it's really important, if people do want to change their life, it starts with physical. It starts with accomplishing goals that you set for yourself within yourself. And that will give you a sense of pride, accomplishment, confidence. How
Yeah.
important do you think that is to start? Like, say, I don't know, say that it's an example, a woman, maybe she's really not happy with her body, but she also is always in terrible relationships, or can't ever find a good job or hold a job. Do you think it would be best to tell her, go work out? Or what would
Yeah.
you say?
Yeah. I mean, there's a quote from Legally Blonde, something about like, I work out. I couldn't possibly have killed my husband, right? I don't remember the quote, but there's a great quote where they're talking about working out makes you in a better mood because you have endorphins. And so I have 6 simple rules, and the fourth one is actually to get 10,000 steps. And the reason that you're supposed to really be moving your body is to help your mood and your physical well-being. There's so many things that it does. And so again, if we're not connected to this, we're going to not be able to be well. So I love the idea, if you're not doing it and you're not getting 10,000 steps, just go buy the shoes first, and then let's figure out how to add some more every single day. I probably wouldn't wait a week to add more, but
Yes.
I think you need to start moving your body, and also pay attention to the way that your body feels. If you're super stressed, it should be low impact. And there are so many studies that are showing low impact, just simple walks are just linked to all sorts of health benefits. So it doesn't have to be aggressive or high intensity. So just keep that in mind. There is no better mood booster than moving your body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so walking benefits. I mean, just says just 30 minutes a day can increase cardiovascular fitness, strengthen your bones, reduce excess body fat. I think that walking is definitely an underestimated sense of
Yeah.
exercise. I
Yeah.
think people are like, oh, I'm not going to sweat. I'm not going to get really my heart rate up. But honestly, I mean, your heart rate will be elevated slightly for a long period of time if you're walking, fairly
Yeah.
fast, not like a slow
Yeah.
walk. And it can boost muscle power and endurance for sure. So I
Yeah.
go on walks a lot. I
Yeah.
probably
It
do.
gives you vitamin D,
Yeah, and being outside. Like, I just
helps your blood sugar,
crave a
so many
walk.
things.
Yes.
Me too.
And then that Legally Blonde quote you're thinking of says, exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands. They just don't.
So if we're
So,
talking about that client
yes.
who is having problems with relationships and problems at work, guess what? The
Yes.
happier you get.
Yes. Oh my
And that goes
gosh.
back to, like, people who, most of my clients who think of this word diet as restriction, it takes willpower to be in a diet. And I do not believe in willpower. I am somebody who only believes in inner power and strengthening that core inner power. And so in order for long-term sustainability, you had the information, and that is actually what fueled you so young, is you had this inner sense, this inner knowing that I try and share with my clients to get them in their body so they have an inner knowing, because willpower fades. It's temporary and we're not looking for that.
I love that you
Exercise
said,
helps build that.
yeah, I love that you said when we're younger, before we are tainted by life, basically. We are like a clean slate. And oh, yeah, when I see younger people today, like, I'm just like, I'm so jealous of you, kind of, because you don't really quite haven't gotten to the hard stages of life where life actually does happen. You have to deal with things like you're in high school or you're in middle school and you just have no care in the world. So I love kind of like getting back. It's almost like getting back to like that childlike behavior. I'm always trying
Yeah.
to do that. Like, what is so silly that I could go do? Like, my boyfriend bought me a bottle of bubbles a couple weeks ago, and he was like, I just
Cute.
remember that you were like playing in the bubbles one time, and I bought, you know what I mean? So
So
it's just
cute.
silly things like that. Like, always trying to find the happiness and the joy and just getting into the present moment. So I love that you say you
Yeah.
work with people to get them back. Is it back into their bodies, you said?
It is back into
Yeah,
their
back into
bodies.
your bodies. Because sometimes we could be so disassociated from
Yes.
ourselves. That was really what
Well,
therapy.
that's where like the alcoholism, the cutting, the, all sorts of addiction comes from, is we're not in our body. So we're not actually feeling what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And food.
really what therapy helped me do. I didn't know what that word was. I didn't know a lot of words before I started therapy, but yeah, she was like, you are just operating and you are don't know what you're doing. Like, you're not feeling your feelings, you're not expressing your feelings. That's really something I had to work on. And like I said, when I went through therapy and I worked on all the emotional stuff, it was like the physical was like a second nature again. And that's such a good
Yeah.
feeling whenever waking up at 5 a.m. to go work out does not feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like something I
Right.
have to do. It's something I look forward when I lay my head down at night. I'm like, God, I can't wait to go work out,
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
work
Yes.
out every single morning. And I think people look at me and they're like, oh my God, like, how do you do that? But it's,
I want to explain that because it's actually the most important piece. If anyone hears any part of this podcast, that's it. So, where my mind used to say, I need to go shopping or I need to eat this, right? Which is what so many people's minds doing. And we're working on understanding it's just a thought. It's because we're not okay. Let me check in with my body. My mind now says, go for a walk. Right. And so I can also then interpret I'm not okay. But because I do take so many walks as a form of exercise, and I'm loving it, my body loves it, my mind now remembers this is more pleasurable for me. And when I'm suffering in any way, it directs me to the more pleasurable solution. So instead of eating or instead of shopping when I don't have the money to buy something, it gives me the right kind of tool that's aligned with what I need. So it's amazing that you're like, I can't wait. Now, again, back to this idea of deprivation. A lot of people are going to hear 5 o'clock in the morning sounds terrible. Why would I want to miss out on sleep? And the reality is, getting up at 5, feeling like you're ready for your day is actually better than sleeping longer and feeling overtired because now you're changing your sleep habits. And that's more like a jet lag feeling. So I hope everybody hears you and says, oh, I want to try that. And it's going to take me 3 or 4 days to really understand how beneficial that is to my body. But the deprivation is not doing it,
Totally.
not in
Deprivation
doing
is
it.
not doing it. It's in not doing it. That's
Yes.
amazing. I love that. I just had an interview with a guy yesterday about habits, and I asked him at the very end, I said, "What's your favorite habit?" And he had a whole long list of habits that he did. And he's like, "But my favorite is working out at 5 a.m., getting up and working out
Yeah.
at 5 a.m." He said, "When I first heard that people did that, he was like, what? That's not even a part of my conscious thinking that people would actually do that." But what he
Yeah.
started to notice is being around more successful people, they were doing that. They
Yes.
were
There
waking
you
up,
go.
yeah,
Yes.
at 5 a.m., going to work out, and they're coming into the office at 7, like, "Yeah, man, I just hit a really hard leg day." And he was like, "At 7 a.m.? What do you mean?"
So
And so
awesome.
he started doing it, and he's like, "This is my favorite habit. It sets the tone for my
Yeah.
day. I have more
Yes.
hours in the day. I'm more energized by not hitting the snooze button for an hour and getting
Yes.
those endorphins out." So
Yeah. I call
I,
that dragon energy for sure,
mm-hmm.
right? And like that's inner power right there. That's, and a great thing to remember is a strong body is a strong mind.
Yes. Healthy mind
Yeah.
is a healthy body is a healthy mind. It's a full
Yep.
circle.
Tame the beast. Tame the
Yes.
beast.
I would say, going back to what you said about going on walks, like a lot of my therapeutic things are free. It's like, okay, I can go outside and move. I can do breath work. I can do meditation. I can read. A lot of my things, are free. I don't have to go shopping. I don't have to go buy a bunch of food or bad food. So I mean, being healthy is actually not as expensive as people make it out to be. You don't need
Yes.
fancy outfits or equipment or anything. It's really about utilizing what you have within you first, and
Yeah.
then everything outside of you. Like, I mean, those things like walking or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think people are like, they just make it so much more overwhelming than it needs
Yeah.
to be. And so we really got to take the pressure off. Like, I don't know for you, but when I would help clients after 6, 7, 8 years, I was like, I'm saying the same thing over and over again because guess what? It doesn't change. This
Right.
isn't like an ever evolving thing. I mean, obviously, there's going to be new sources of information, new research, but it really comes down to the basics every single
Yeah.
time you want to help
Yeah.
someone with food. So we're
Yeah.
not recreating the wheel. There's nothing else you need to learn. You just need to learn the basics and
Yeah.
then
This
stack
is
it from there.
Yes, 100% yes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even when studying my epidemiological course, we would read like everything we can get our hands on study wise with vitamin E, and the next week it would be like vitamin A or vitamin C. And every Friday we would meet, we would go over all the studies. And at the end of the class, I was so like let down in the fact that there was nothing new and everything was saying moderation. Everything in moderation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Uh,
my boyfriend will always reference, there's like an episode of Rob, remember that show Rob and Big with like Rob Deerdick?
Yeah.
Yeah, and his
Yeah.
big, huge, security bodybuilder. So he was trying to lose weight. So he was going into a dietitian office and they were putting it on the episodes. And yeah, she basically just said, you don't have to change anything. Just do what you're doing in moderation. So eat a cheeseburger in moderation. Do whatever you're doing in
Yeah.
moderation. But I thought it was funny because they were just kind of making jokes about it. But it's so true.
Yeah.
It's and we don't want to demoralize any food. We don't want to say this food's wrong and this food's right or bad or good. It's just you go into a decision with food with two options. It's either going to help you or it's going to hinder you. And
Yeah.
if you make 10 choices that are going to hinder you every single day, you're going to be stuck and you're going to be backtracking. If you make 8
Yeah.
choices that are helpful, but maybe 2 that are hindering, you're still going to be leaning towards helpful. So
Yeah.
there's really no like if you eat that, you are doomed. Like I eat
Yeah.
like whatever you want to call it, cheap food all the time. But
I just call it food. I just say
yeah,
we just eat food.
yeah, yeah.
Doesn't have to have a label.
Yeah, exactly. Not labeling food. Just knowing in the back of our mind that if you're striving for a goal, but you're really eating this food that's not going to help with the goal, but don't be disappointed when you don't hit the goal.
So I have a fail safe in that.
Okay.
So um, I have 6 simple rules. The first one is to eat when you're hungry. So people don't really talk about hunger often enough. And it's like you don't go to the bathroom unless you have to pee. So you should also only eat when you are hungry. And I believe that you should be hungry every 3.5 hours, 2.5 to 3.5 hours, because this is how we're regulating our blood sugar, which is the link to longevity and decreasing your risk of almost every single disease. So the first rule is you eat when you're hungry. You take half of your normal portion, and there's the fail safe. You take half of your cheeseburger. You eat it slowly, you chew it, and you wait 15 minutes. Maybe you take 15 minutes to eat that first half. And then you wait till 15 minutes from the first bite, and you check back in with your body and you figure out how much more you need. And the truth is, we won't need much more. We might want more, but we don't need more. But we will eat again in 3 hours.
Mm,
So I'm not saying you can't, you might need more than half the cheeseburger in that setting. And everybody is going to be different because we don't know what they ate right before. We don't know their activity, all those
mm-hmm.
factors. So the first rule is eat when you're hungry, start with half and wait 15 minutes because that's how long it takes physically for us to know if it was enough food. So it's kind of like Ozempic even, right? Like it's already giving you that full message. So is this eating half and waiting 15
That's so
minutes.
interesting. I need to try that. I will say I am going to like call myself out right now in front of everyone, but I'm such a fast eater. Like my whole family will be like, "Watch out, Kayla's coming through." Like
That's funny.
I am such a fast eater, and for some reason my mind is just like, "Oh, it's because I really like when my food is warm and like
Yeah.
hot. I really don't want to eat a cold cheeseburger." So,
There's that pleasure. There,
yeah.
I want to have this most pleasurable moment. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like I have to eat this while it's still hot. And so that's my
Okay, so you're
problem.
gonna have to get curious. You're gonna get curious and
Okay.
just see. And like, do you need the whole could you slow down, enjoy it, chew it a little longer than you think necessary, and then put it down and see what happens. And I know your mind and your hand will be reaching for it, but at the
Mhm.
same time, you may not need it.
Yeah.
And we make all decisions from a place of fear or trust. And so the fear is I won't enjoy it if it's cold, I won't eat it if it's cold, or it won't be as good if it's cold. And the truth is we don't know.
So
We should
true.
be curious
Yeah, I need to
and
try
figure
it. I
it
need to
out.
try it for at least a day. And then I'm like, and then I'm wasting money. You know what I mean? I just have all these thoughts of like, and then I don't want to waste my money if I'm buying a whole meal and I only eat half of it.
There's that pleasure thing again. And like the truth is we're not trash cans.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the chef prepared for us is not going to be like our portion. Like it's
Mm.
insane to me. I had a client yesterday who was 6'3", I'm 5'2". We were standing next to each other and I was laughing because I'm like, if we go to a restaurant together, the chef is preparing the exact same cheeseburger for us. And
So
like we're different
crazy.
sizes. We've got different things coming into this meal. We cannot possibly need the same amount of food right now. This is like an individual story here. We have to be in our own bodies to figure out what we need.
That's so true. That's very interesting. Yeah, totally. You can go eat with a male who's 100 pounds more than you, and you're gonna get. They're not gonna be like, okay, let's see, table two. He's 100 pounds more. We're gonna make his a little bigger, make hers a little
No.
smaller. So
Right, but
true.
how mad would you be if like my chicken parmesan was bigger than your chicken parmesan, right? Like
Yeah,
so
I
it
love
has to
that.
be individualized.
Such good tips. I can only imagine all the great tips that are going to be in your book. So I'm excited to read that because I'm definitely going to read it. And when does it come out?
It comes out July 25th. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
perfect!
Yeah,
Yay!
very soon.
It'll be just around when this episode launches, so I'll have to time it just right so we can definitely promote that as well. So to end,
Perfect.
this has been such a good conversation. Do you have anything else that you want to say? You want to share? Ask me.
No, I feel I'm so happy. I want you to come back and do an Instagram live with me and
Yes.
share, all the ways in which we can build healthy habits and consistent routines. And I'm just really happy that we got to have this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's a thing that's never going to go away. People are always going to need help with this. But the more people we can just educate, and in doing so, they'll educate people, like their family, people around them. So I always like to ask my guests at the very end of the episode, it's kind of like a megaphone moment that we call it, where if you were on top of a mountain and you had a megaphone to the world and everyone was going to look at you and they're going to take away and actually apply one thing that you said. What is one thing that you know for sure? What is one piece of information you know for sure?
To keep going. To keep going in all things. This is about progress, not perfection.
I love that. Don't give up, guys.
Don't give up. You got this.
You got this. I love it. Okay, so how can people find you, work with you, and be inspired by you?
I am on all the socials at Kim Shapira Method. You can work with me in groups privately. You can DM me and I'm happy to talk to you. And if there's any way I can help you, I would love to.
Awesome. And then your book's coming out. Where can they find that? It's going to be like Amazon.
Everywhere.
Perfect.
I'm so excited.
Yay.
So Walmart, Target, Barnes and Nobles, all your favorite indie stores, Amazon, it's everywhere.
Perfect. It'll be easy to find. We are excited to read that. This is what you are really hungry for. It's perfect. It's perfect. I love it. Good job. All right. Thank you so much, Kim. I'm so excited about this information that we're going to put out there.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.